The number one cost of living is going to be energy. I don't know why we closed down San Clemente nuclear plant, but they closed it down. There was safety issues, but there's always a chance to, get in there and build another one and build it the same. If you look at France, all of their power comes from nuclear. That's why they're able. It's very cheap, and they're able to provide all these social services. That's not something I'm encouraging. I'm saying that the nuclear is ultimately the best way to lower our cost in energy for our homes.
And it frees up capital for other areas.
Exactly. It frees up capital for other, and then we have energy as far as gas. The other part is you and I are paying $1 more per gallon just to buy gas in California. It's ridiculous. The gas tax, I hate to go back to this, but if you go back to France, they had, I don't know if you recall the Yellow Vest riots. The reason why they had the Yellow Vest riots, and this was back in 16 or 17, I'm not sure, is because they were going to give it a gas tax. This socialist country fought so hard and had riots and everywhere because they didn't want the gas tax. And then the next year, California passes the gas tax. I'm like, how does that happen? How does this socialist country fight the gas tax? And then we're in California and we're capitalists and we're encouraging, we're paying for this gas tax? It didn't make sense to me. The other issue is we need to, open up more drilling and more access to fossil fuels. At the end of the day, we want to be independent, and the way we become independent is we have a refinery in Carson, but we also, we need to have more access to fossil fuels.
Sure, and that would be more of a federal issue, opening things like the Keystone Pipeline and drilling in Anwar and things like that. But
I'm saying in California, and even off the shore.
Okay, got it. I don't know if those require federal licenses, if that's handled by the federal government since it's offshore.
I'll have to look into that. You're probably right.
Yeah, but what I do want to focus more on, which you brought up, are the energy policy in general. And one thing that California has pushed very hard on are green tech mandates, whether it's appliances, moving all of our vehicles to electric battery vehicles. What's your general stance on trying to balance protecting the environment with all of these green tech mandates and the cost of energy?
So there was a book out by Michael Schellenberg, which I'm pretty sure you know, Climate Change and Never, and it was kind of talking about, he was talking about his daughter came home and was just panicking because the earth is going to end in 10 years, and what are we going to do, Daddy? What are we going to do? And he kind of went into everything, and he says, ultimately, if you want to get greener, just everybody has to consciously make a decision to go one step further. So if you have a diesel car, go to gas. If you have a gas car, maybe consider hybrid. If you have a hybrid, consider electrical. I mean, those are natural events and would actually be good for the climate. And it's at the people's level. But getting rid of fossil fuels, I think even Elon Musk said that we're not even ready for that because we don't have the structure or infrastructure for it. One thing I will say is when it comes to electrical, I'll never forget this in 1980, I was like 87, and my dad, a friend of his drove over with an electrical car, and he said, he's like, oh, this is fun, it's got great power and everything, and he leaves, and my dad goes, I'll never get an electrical car. And I said, why? He goes, because like a light switch, the government can turn it off. And I said, that's a good point. I said, so it was very, very interesting, and I'm like, so I realized like more and more where my freedoms come from is there's little bits and pieces that come to mind when I'm growing up and how my dad was. And my dad was an entrepreneur, self-employed, had 8 kids, married for, they'd still be married, but when they passed, he was 55 years married. So we grew up in a Catholic family in Norwalk, and we were in a 1,200 square foot house, boys' room, girls' room, and parents' room. So it was close quarters, and we look at the cost of living then versus what we have now and what energy was and the cost at that time. It all, back then, if my dad did